want to thank Joe and the commission for the invitation to come out here. I'd like to make this interactive if we could. I've already learned some stuff that I probably learned once and then forgotten already. We have some special guests who have some very intimate background with the property. So we'll talk to those folks after. 3 main points as per my Air Force training. I'll hit some details on this. I have a little sheet here. Thank you to the Berkheimers. It's been a farm, it's been a birthing house, it's been a hotel, it's been a bar, it's been on fire, and it's been the Hammaker place. I'll go through some of the details here for you. In 1765, Thomas Lingle laid out the plot plan for the town. This property is on lot 35 and 36. Originally, there were 2 houses on the plot, owned by M. Sonley on 35 and H. Lace on 36 in 1765. The property is in 2 parcels. The first parcel has the house and the barn on it, and the second parcel has the 2 acres. It's got a steer shed on it and 2 acres of farmland back there. The house was built in 1880 as a hotel, and it was known as the Homestead Hotel. The owner was H.O. Coons, a name we all know from around here. In 1902, it was licensed to serve alcoholic beverages. The original bar remained in the house, but not in use until the fire in 1989. In 1904, the hotel was purchased by David Lazavine, and he owned it until 1924, when it was purchased by Pete Coons, and it was converted into a private home at that point. His family owned it until 1958, and Pete Coons died in 1955. In 1960, it was purchased by Archie M. Hammaker, and just as a note, it was common practice for women to stay at the hotel to have their children, and several people have told of either being born there or having had children there over the years. The barn is as old as the house or even older. In the 1920s, it was a livestock market owned by Pete Coons, and you may be able to see in some of these pictures, but the back part of the barn actually still has the cattle scales where they would weigh the cattle as they came in for the auctions. All right. We bought it on or about April of 2017. The house was in very good shape. Steer shed was in good shape. Am I saying that right? Is that what they called it, a steer shed? Okay. The barn, as Joe alluded to, classic money pit. Here's an overview of the property. I'll step up to the picture here to show you. There's Mud Queen way up top there, Linglestown Road, the barn in back, and that's about a half-acre parcel right there. And then this is about a 2-acre parcel that runs around here.
Where's the steer shed?
Oh, the steer shed? You can just barely see it right there. Thanks to Joe, these are some pictures he took over the years. I thought they were pretty, and I thought this one was very interesting. We've got the cow, and then we've got Treasures from Home and Mellow Minded right behind the cow. This was the house when we purchased it, the day we purchased it. The barn at purchase. The steer shed at purchase. We became truck owners also. We didn't realize we were getting a truck in the deal.
Do you know what that is?
It belonged to the fire department is what I understand, but I know no more details than that right there.
That was our first utility vehicle. We called it the death coach. Because the steering was so terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty bad right now too.
It's still there.
Oh yeah, yeah. So we actually, I'll show you more pictures here, but that got towed to the backside of the, what's the chicken coop area, and along with a hammer mill that was in the, that was holding up part of the barn, we think. So. I did a lot of the work myself. Like I said, the house was in very good shape. We had to do some pressure washing and cleaning, and my wife Audra picked out the colors. we have fought over the colors, and every time we fought, she won, and she was right. So the picture, or the color you see out there was her choice. The color scheme. I didn't realize that you could paint vinyl, but they do have good vinyl paints nowadays. That was a Sherwin-Williams product, and it's held up very well. So. Yeah, she picked out that beautiful green. I had never had myself up on one of these big man lifts, but when you get that thing 45 feet up and 27 feet out, it wiggles a lot. Audra thought it was funny to come up and shake the thing. And that's the completed front after the painting. I like painting, so. This is a part of the house during the process. We didn't have to take down any walls. We didn't have to, the floors were in great shape. Really the only thing we wound up doing was tearing down some paneling, which you'll see in the next picture here. And there was drywall beneath that, so we painted, patched and painted. Sort of a theme you'll see here. This is a ceiling in the back room, and it's all repurposed stuff we found either at the barn, the wood, the tin, etc. And we tried to do that throughout the house. As a matter of fact, we did it almost exclusively throughout the house and the barn. Very, very few new items were purchased. It's all stuff we found and brought back to life. This was, correct me if I'm wrong, this was a dining room right here, this narrow room off to the right as you walk in, and it went back into the kitchen there. And we did close off that door and made this a little retail room. These are barn beams. Yeah. That was a lamp that we found out there that was chewed up, and Audra cleaned it up and painted it. Where's that hang right now?
In the room where all the wheels are.
Okay. Very good. This is
the stair steps.
Yeah, this is before and after on the stairs. We took down the paneling. It was in good shape underneath this drywall, so we just patched it, painted it, and my daughter painted all the stairs right there. And those are her paintings as well. This is a composite picture. I didn't get a good side-by-side, but if you walk in the front door, you're going to see the stairs right away. And then just off to the right is what was the dining room, and that's a small retail area right now. In the house there, upstairs, we do have some office space. And then off to the left-hand side as you walk in, I thought I had a picture of it, but that's where the hand building room and the wheel room is. And then the kitchen became the kiln room, or I'm sorry, the glaze room. The kiln room is actually the far back room that I believe was a playroom, is that right?
It was the out kitchen.
The out kitchen, okay. Okay. Alrighty, steer shed. It was definitely in use. And then
Antique manure.
Exactly. There's that truck. The death wagon you called it, is that right?
Death coach.
Death coach, okay.
Oh, there, that's the back of it.
It's been moved since then.
So the steer shed was in very good shape as well. We were able to clean it out. Had to dig out, down to the dirt there, and clean up some of the stuff here after we pulled the truck out. I was going to just go with some gravel down here, but it was a little wet, so we wound up actually having to pour some concrete in the steer shed right there. In keeping with our theme, all these windows right here, they were just found up in the barn, and we put them in the steer shed. Those doors are original. We did put them on a sliding track instead of, they actually folded up and were held up with a little L-shaped lever up there. So we took them down and just put them on tracks so they slide back and forth now. and that's where my Model T stays. That's a picture of it after it was cleaned up. Yeah, it's really pretty back there. And we didn't have, like I said, other than maybe, putting a little bit of goop on the roof to stop a leak here or there, it was in really good shape. We didn't do anything to the siding or anything else. All right, the barn exterior. Probably the biggest thing to note, if you see a before and after picture or drive by now, if you see the slope of that roof line right there, it was bowed pretty bad, so we had to do some jacking and supporting. And then the other thing to note, I loved this wood, and our intent was to get it fixed up and put that wood right back on, but it turned out to be a bridge too far, and you'll see a picture of what we had to do in lieu of that. I just thought somebody might be interested in that. Old oil tank made by Granby Steel Tanks in Granby, Quebec, Canada.
Is that have a date on it?
Yeah.
Steady. 99.
Yeah.
Date?
Oh, it's on the side.
Yeah, the dates and stuff.
Yeah.
That's really fun to find out. I like that.
So the siding came down, and we just couldn't save it, couldn't put a piece back together. So we got some wood cut from a local place down in the Lebanon area, and this is all poplar, and it's now board and batten poplar. Right now, we're letting it gray naturally as best as we can. It's actually taking longer than I expected. I thought by now it would have completely grayed, but we may have to help it along with some man-made stuff.
The windows in the last picture, are they original windows?
No, those are new windows right there, yeah. New windows, new door. I was telling somebody out there, there was no end goal in mind. We didn't start with an overall plan other than to make it safe and dry. And every week we'd walk in and go, sure would be neat if we did that. And then a month later, oh, if we did that, that'd be really great. So it has just evolved along the way. This was day one. And it's hard to tell because of the angle of the photo, but those beams are actually broken and coming down like this. That's not an optical illusion. They were actually broken right there. Same kind of thing. When you walked in here at this part of the barn, you didn't have to duck, but you felt like you had to duck. And this is the north side, what we call the lean-to. That's got the cinder block on it.
And was it empty when you got it, or did you have to empty?
We had to empty it. There's a lot of stuff in there. This side wasn't too bad. The interesting part is we didn't realize there was concrete down here, but when we got to the bottom, we found concrete. So this is a great picture of some of the stuff that was in the barn, and then where it was broken. This is on the outside. So the first beams I showed you were on the east side. This is the south side right here. These beams were broken as well. There was I'm going to say a ton of hay. It was probably 5 tons of hay. There was a lot of hay out there. And we were able to give a lot of it away. We had, folks from Lebanon and Lancaster drive their hay wagons down here and take a lot of it, but it still took a solid 1.5 years of us cleaning on an irregular basis to get everything out of there. Rented that from Hornings. I was the first guy to ever rent it, and then we dropped part of the barn on it, but don't tell them. some really good fertilizer out back right now.
Yeah.
You could sell
Yeah.
it. Plant your flowers in it.
So this is the old hammer mill. This was actually, so there's the main part of the barn, and then they added, and I'm not sure if you know when, but there were 2 lean-to sides of it. This is the southern side, out toward the land side of it. And we didn't move this for a long time because we thought maybe it was holding up part of the barn the way it was in there. But yeah, okay. Yeah.
What is a hammer mill?
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask the crowd, what is the hammer mill? My understanding is you put corn or other, feed, something like that in it.
Grains in it.
Grinds it all up.
Mix it
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
When it goes in the bags, they sometimes add molasses to the bags too.
Oh, really? To sweeten it up?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that lives right next to the death coach. And we have an idea for that, but we're not going to share it right now. But it's going nowhere. It's staying in the family.
Pretty cool.
All right, this is,
There's your cement.
yeah, that's right, yeah. So this is the east side of the main part of the barn. If you could go out that door, you'd run into Treasures from Home and Mellow Minded. And then we're looking that way, we're looking at Linglestown. You can see the beams have been jacked up, supported, sistered back together.
Is that cement floor or is it brick?
That is cement, but it was textured. So yeah, it had a deep texture to it. And it was really neat the way it was set up.
No, they would texture so the cattle wouldn't.
It was
Slide.
slip.
Slide.
That was
Yeah.
for the horses, that side there.
I thought it was
That was the horse side, yeah.
There were the horse
So-
troughs up there and stuff.
And if you could go, if I had a VR reality for you here, you could turn left and look this way. And they had, the concrete was same texture, but it was raised up a little bit. And then out where the cows, so they eat on the center trough and then poop out here. And then they could just go through and shovel it up. That's the way the barn was set up there. Just a variety of things. It was just, I got to tell you, cleaning the barn was wonderful fun. You would think I would have lost some weight based upon the amount of work that went into it, but there was hay everywhere. It was dirty work. That's a friend of mine helping me. That's my son, Dave. That's my daughter's dog, and that's our dog. They're in charge right there. This was nearing the end of getting all the hay out. So this is just, I put this up as an example of what we were, I don't want to say we were trying to do it, it was just our desire to. There's nothing in this picture that is new. It's all been found in the barn and repurposed somehow, some way. This was actually, this fencing right here was actually in this other room where this door is. This door came from, I don't know where, but in the barn somewhere. That was old, were they shutters?
It was like a bifold.
Bifold door?
It was up in the.
Okay. This was an old garage door with the number 14 on it. We just left it, so. So instead of going and buying plywood or buying drywall or something like that, we just used this stuff. There were many, 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 many doors. So they become tables or desks. She has a desk made out of some old doors in Mud Queen there. Register,
It's an
yeah.
old door, it's made out of all old doors for the barn.
Oh,
That's where we're at right now.
Look at that, Laura.
what are you gonna do with it?
Great question. Next slide. Oh, no, we're gonna do bloopers first, all right? So I forgot about this. So after we drop part of the barn on Bill Horning's brand new equipment, a buddy of mine who you saw in that other picture, this is Easter Sunday. We're out there just, basically goofing around, moving this pile of dirt over to that pile of dirt. And the vehicle got low on gas, and the pickup is up front in the gas tank, and he got it tilted back. So the engine quit, and the engine quit with the bucket down, and we could open up the door to get gas in it, but the way the gas tank was tilted, we couldn't get diesel fuel into it. It all just came out, even though the pickup was up top. So we had to go get a neighbor's Bobcat and pull the thing out. It took about 3.5 hours on Easter Sunday.
Now that part of the barn has fallen down. That part is not there anymore, that wall down. That was the side of that.
It's a Model A, Model T.
That is a 1920 Model T. The one I have at the, what we call the Model T shed now instead of steer shed, is actually 1921. That one lives up in Wisconsin.
Oh, you sold it?
No, our family has a reunion every year up in Wisconsin, and we drive Model Ts for fun.
Oh.
So 100 miles a day for 5 days, we call it the Doughty 500.
My grandfather used to have one on his farm to go out to the fields to feed the cattle and stuff.
Yep.
He used it on the farm.
They're actually pretty reliable and simple and easy to work on. So we love that picture.
That is awesome.
We actually found,
That's Tina's
I
one.
think that's,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
it's mom.
That's Tina's one.
we actually found a portion of this fence railing right here, and we're going to try to recreate it and put it back up in the barn.
Now, see, you'd be able to see French doors here. I don't see, no, wait, no, you asked about that. I don't see French doors.
Is that a Model T as well?
I believe that is a Model, I think that's a Model A, yeah. Somebody knows better than I do.
We did keep the original windows. All of those windows there are
nice.
still there.
Yes, we didn't, the windows are beautiful. They've got that wavy glass in them.
Is a old consumer?
Not
It's
too bad.
Yeah, it's not so bad.
Surprisingly,
The ones upstairs are probably a little worse than those big picture windows downstairs.
yeah, I would agree.
They don't get that down.
Walnut, yeah.
Audie took that picture, and I thought she had manipulated the colors or something, you know. It was just an orange night, and it looked really beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, did I go too fast? So you had asked, you know, what's next? Well, for the barn, we're not sure. We have talked about artist studios out there, possibly making a kiln shed, moving our kilns out there. On the southern side of the barn, when the barn got jacked up, the beams broke on that side pretty badly, so we couldn't save that side of the barn. So we're talking about making a sitting area out there with a pergola, something like that. So we could, just look at the beautiful land that's out back there. We love the land, we like it as is, no plans for it. We have lived here for almost 20 years, and until we went to that auction, we didn't know it was back there. It's so well hidden. Oh, well, Audra did.
Do you guys actually live in the building?
No, we don't, but we have threatened to move to the building.
Oh,
So.
okay, you live in Lewiston?
Yeah, we do. We live behind Colonial Country Club,
Oh, okay.
Dunmore Drive. All righty. That's it, yes.
I have a question for you. On the front of the barn that faces that, the alley there.
Yes,
There was a usual set of doors up at the top where the hay mow was.
yes.
Are those still there? I didn't see them.
They are not there. They are saved because our goal was to put them back up. I don't think they're going to be up and functional, but they may be up as in a decorative sense.
And
But,
also, I'm
yeah,
sorry,
go ahead. No.
also the chicken barn.
Yes.
We haven't
Have
done
plans
anything
for
to
that?
that yet.
We have ideas, not plans.
Okay.
We would love to, again, bring that back to life, maybe make more artist studios. We just don't know. we peek in there and go, oh, boom, and shut the door again. So right now, it's just gonna stay preserved as
It
is.
has a sentimental value to me. I was the only girl in the family, and I had 3 younger brothers. So there was always boys coming into the yard to play because we had the big yard in the back. Well, one of the things I accomplished, and then nobody believes me except for the kids that were there, I could kick a football from the top of that yard over that chicken house. Down into the meadow. You know, just in regular sneakers. I didn't even have football shoes or anything.
Wow.
I always thought that was cool because that way I showed my brothers I could do what they did, you know.
Very good.
For those wondering, Donna lived there, okay, Donna and Charles are here, and she was there, her maiden name was Hammaker, if I said it right, I hope I did. And she was in the house for 10 years. And her husband helped clean out the barn at one point, correct,
You
Charles?
guys have the monkey?
Yes.
They had the monkey.
Yeah, we did have a monkey, yeah.
His name was Charlie.
Charlie the monkey, I love it.
The hay that was up in the mow there, it was so dangerous to get up in there to that mow anymore. But there was bales of hay up in there that were wire tied.
Yep.
Did you?
And those wire tied ones were from early 1900s.
Were they really?
They were there when we bought the place. You know.
Yeah.
My father just pushed them back and put some fresher stuff in them.
Wow. I wish I had known that. I would have kept a couple.
Okay.
They were heavy.
Yeah, very, very
Yeah.
heavy.
They were dense, heavy.
They were 85-pound bales.
Okay.
Wow. I just want to say it's amazing.
It
Thank
is,
you.
and we're so thankful. It's so nice to have it in Leostown, saved
Excellent.
and restored.
I'll give her all the credit. Yes.
Do you have any idea how the truck from the fire department ended up there?
Bill?
What'd you do, Bill?
Archie was a trustee. He was an officer in the fire police, and that death coach became the first fire police vehicle. And I think once we, as I remember, once we got a newer vehicle, it was a white Chevy, then it was retired, and I think it just ended up at Archie's barn.
It was the only safe place to go with it.
That's right, there was no, we didn't have all that land we have now.
Michael, what was the most interesting thing in town?
Most interesting thing. I can't give you the most. I'll give you a list of several. Just a week ago, after the windstorm, we had to go do some cleanup on the south side, and I found a book. Was it Red Rover? I can't even remember the name of it now. But it was signed by somebody and dated June of 1944, and it was still in shockingly good condition for having been in part of a barn that had blown down and leaked. So, yeah. Found a lot of cool old bottles, great old doors that we're using for desks and or tables and that kind of thing. Yeah.
We did find one little red plastic chip that says Eagle Hotel, good for one beer.
Oh.
Yeah.
There were a lot of
Tiny
those.
little thing, really great, yeah.
Was it plastic?
Little plastic, it's plastic, but it's really old plastic. I feel like
We had about
cash it
$5.
in. All right, I'm gonna walk up there and say, where's my beer? Yeah.
Well, but with inflation, it's worth about 50.
A sip, now it's good for a sip.
We have some people who claim they have found ghosts in the place, but I personally haven't witnessed any of that. It's just a treasure trove. I mean, there's so many beautiful, cool, neat old things, and some of it's just old texture. You know, you walk in and look at a door that is nothing special, but you can tell it's, you know, 60, 70, 80, 100 years out in the weather. And, any of the barnwood that came down, we saved if we couldn't use it or reuse it right away. And just a piece of the barnwood, you can hold it and look at it all day long. It's gorgeous.
Recently, the upstairs now has drop ceiling all in it, and recently the back.
We're talking about the house, right?
Right, the house. The back room is where my office is, and I recently took one of those squares down, and there's still pristine, gorgeous wallpaper looks like from the 20s in there. It's beautiful. So I'm hoping to take all of that down and see if I can somehow re-expose all of that beautiful wallpaper. Because it's not damaged or anything, it's just really pretty.
Always a surprise.
Yeah, it's a surprise.
Yes,
Yeah, when you were doing the rebuilding, was most of the wood hand hewn, or was it sawed, or?
you know, I'm gonna say most of it was sawn, it looked like, but it was rough sawn. You could see where, you know,
Hand saw?
No, I think it was a circular saw, but a big, old, fairly slow-moving circular saw blade from a mill somewhere. But I'm not an expert, so, you know, I may have been looking at something that I
It
didn't.
was built in 1880.
Yes, the house was built in 1880, and we think the barn, the center part of the barn predates that, but not 100% sure right now, so.
The
Yes,
fire,
Polly.
when was that?
There was one in 1989, is that right?
Really?
Yeah.
And there was another one previous, I believe, but I'm not sure when that was.
And how much damage did it do?
I'm gonna look back here.
It did quite a bit of damage. When the house was built, what they call a balloon.
So it went up along one.
up.
Yeah,
One
so
wall.
it went all the way up and everything. It started.
What used to
at
be the
chimney.
kitchen, it went up along that wall up to the second floor and stuff.
Yeah.
Did
Well,
not
actually, it
damage.
went into the attic too.
Yeah, into the attic here too.
Because parts of the attic had to be rebuilt.
You were close.
Did you find fire damage?
No, we did not.
So it was all fixed then?
It was all fixed.
You
Yeah.
can see the attic though, the new versus the old,
You can
where
see the
you
wood.
can see where
yeah.
it was repaired, yeah.
I learned a lesson during the second fire, that down in the basement, the fireman carried his shelving outside and had sawed it down into about 4-foot lengths. And I was told that was the bar that was in the hotel.
Oh.
So I took all that wood and saved it, and it was all charred and stuff, and I planed it down, so, and I had 14-inch wide black walnut boards with no knots in them.
Very nice.
Yeah, there's some gorgeous, gorgeous
Yeah.
wood. Still, you know, you pick up, these days you go to Lowe's and pick up a 2x4 and, you know, walk around on one hand. You pick up that wood and it's both hands, and if it's a beam, it's a two-man operation. It is dense, heavy wood. Yeah.
Was it oak?
There's a lot of oak, walnut,
And chestnut.
chestnut, yeah.
So you didn't know the bar was there
Huh?
until the fire?
I didn't know that they were using it for, her
My
mother
mother
used
would
it
put
for.
her canned goods
canned
in
goods
because they
in
had
the
all the
cellar.
shelves, you know.
And the
they
bar
turned
was
it-
down
they
in the
turned it
basement.
to
No,
the-
no, the bar was upstairs, but they took the bar out when Pete Coons made it a private
Okay.
home.
I gotcha. Wow. Such history.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
You can picture in your mind, there's a fire hydrant at the corner of Blue Mountain Parkway and Inglestown Road. Quilt shop. That fire hydrant was added, we had no fire protection in the town. There was a line brought over from the junior high school through Pennsylvania Avenue and then back the Parkway to give water to Blue Meadows Farm. That hydrant saved that house. Had we not had that line brought in back to Blue Meadows Farm, we had no water. We would have had to truck water when those fires occurred. So those hydrants, that particular hydrant really was very beneficial for that end of town. The other end of town didn't have any water protection. Now it does.
And if you are driving either way on 39, but it's easiest coming from St. Thomas Roasters, if you look at the roof, you'll see the front half is the old tin roof, probably been there for 100 years or more, and the back half is shingle, where they rebuilt it and put shingles on top.
After the fire?
We
Yeah.
assume, yeah.
Yeah.
There used to be a sawmill back at the old firehouse.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Burner had a sawmill back there.
Now the attic, it's a real old attic, it has stairs going up.
There's, very narrow, steep stairs, really cool old attic.
Yeah, it was very high though.
Again, we have ideas of what we'd like to do, but it's, years away from doing
Was
anything
it
up there.
filled with cool stuff?
It was pretty much empty when we got it. It was
Yeah.
completely empty.
All of us can carry down those steps.
Yeah.
You
They-
gotta find a truck or something.
Yeah, definitely. I love old days.
You know, for us, I would say most of the really cool, interesting stuff was found in the barn. The house was pretty much cleaned. Audra, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean,
I
there
don't
wasn't
think there
anything.
was anything left in the house except that one closet that we got rid of. Had an old vacuum cleaner in it. But that was pretty much it, yeah.
That's right.
No great finds in the attic?
No, it was,
There is a box full of wedding pictures and those old photographs that I put up on Facebook last year. A few old dishes here and there, yeah, neat old bottles. There's cute little wooden toys. I have a wooden horse that we found up there that looked like it was at one time somebody's toy. Just little things like that.
Used to make toys like that.
Yeah, it may have been a handmade little horse and painted, yeah.
In
It's
the
really
basement,
cute.
he made a lot of toys once in a while.
Who does that, Coons?
No,
No, I
can't
don't.
her dad.
There's a full-size nativity scene.
Yep.
Outdoor nativity scene that's a board and painted. And we found like Mary down in one part of the barn and maybe Joseph and the wise men were up in the hayloft. I think we've since found all the pieces to it. But they're still sitting in the barn because I'd like to clean those up and put them out at some point because they're all in still good shape. They just are a little faded, but they're pretty neat.
Not three-dimensional, just
No,
flat.
there's flat boards that have like a stand in the back that stands up.
Oh,
Yeah.
It was a long winter cleaning the barn out.
oh, yeah, yeah. And you know, the chicken coop is gonna be another big adventure.
Oh, yeah,
That'll-
because it's still full.
When we get around to that, it's a solid, you know, easy year of work that we'll put into.
We did find boxes in the barn before we cleaned everything out that were burnt things, probably came from the house, like a whole box full of burnt Christmas decorations and things like that, yeah. Kids' toys, burnt G.I. Joe, yeah, yeah. They were all out there.
For me personally, I like seeing the stuff that was related to the barn and the cattle. And there was a feed trough that was in the middle, probably 12 feet long and a couple feet wide. And it had doors on either side. I think you could fill one side and they'd eat out of the other or vice versa. That is now out on the north side of the barn, and she's going to make a planter out of it, put some flowers in it, that kind of thing.
And it'll be exposed to the outdoors.
A little bit, sort of under the, you know, up against the wall so that it's not hammered. But yeah, I'd like to bring it out, so it's pretty.
Yeah, two questions. Is that galvanized feed trough or is it wood one?
Wood.
Okay. I actually live in town. I live in 6033.
Very
And
nice.
mine is the red barn out by the park.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
And I've been trying to like find anything to figure out when the barn was built in particular. You know, I got pencil marks and stuff for like measurements, but I don't have any dates. Did you find anything like in that regard? Because I have measurements on some of the beams and
No,
things like that.
I didn't see pencil marks. We found old calendars, old newspapers, you know. But I think the calendar was 30s
Yeah.
and the newspaper was 60s, 62.
Nothing that predates that.
Yeah, there were. It wasn't like we found any turned over wood and found a note, you know, Joe was here or something like that. Yeah,
Used
yeah.
to like have a symbol
Yeah.
sometimes that they would carve it.
Yes,
Usually by the door. Or
I-
some.
Yes, we did not yet find anything like that, so. Yes?
If you mentioned this, I missed it early on, but what possessed you guys to actually take on this project and make this investment in the first place?
Lack of foresight. No, it just snowballed. It was, you know, there wasn't a grand plan. She had been running her pottery studio on North Mountain Road for a little while. And we thought it'd be nice to have our own place. This went up for auction. We didn't even really inspect it. We just walked through and went, yeah, it's nice. I was working that day. I was in Denver And I called her before I took off and said, "Are you going?" She said, and I said, "Go, go, go." So she went, and when I landed in Philadelphia, I was a barn owner.
You guys make all your decisions actually?
Even to get married, yeah. You look all right, I'm married.
Hey, you own another piece of property in Littlestown that's very interesting. Can you give us anything on that? That was just the old Church of God parsonage. And that was built in 18-something.
1830, according to the sign on the side, and that is the sum total of what I know about that.
That's all you know.
Yeah.
I remember the preacher was there when we were young. He had 2 young boys. I don't know what I was, but I thought maybe you knew more about it than that.
Unfortunately, no, I don't. This has sort of consumed our life, and I really haven't looked into anything about the history of that building. So, the interesting thing about that 2 acres is that's actually addressed on Avis Lane. It's not on Raspberry.
Was the farm bigger than that 2 acres at one time, or?
I'm going to look to the crowd to tell me. I don't think so, but I'm not sure.
What was that question?
Was the farm bigger than the 2 acres that's in the back?
I understand it was at one time, because it kind of, where he was talking about the sawmill.
Yeah.
That was Mr. Wolfensberger, and he had a piece of property where this property ended, my father's, and it started and it went down towards the back of the firehouse then.
It originally started out, I could be wrong, 50, a 6-acre plot that was broken down during various ownerships.
Behind the alley,
Yes.
south of the alley.
Yes.
That went towards the firehouse?
In the book, it's the southwest properties a lot that are there.
Yeah, because the town of Littlestown originally didn't extend behind the
No,
alley.
they're called the additions to the lots that are in Littlestown that Simon Lincoln did.
At one point, Raspberry Alley was considered wilderness from there on. In the 1700s, when they first laid it out, that alley was in there, in that original drawing, and from there on, considered wilderness, anything south of that.
Okay, are there any other questions before we bring it together? I can't thank you enough, Michael. It's not just you coming here and taking our bowl, but you were able to really save a very large part of this township. And we really appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you, Audra, for being part of that.
We love it.
You definitely picked the right color.
Yes.
Yes, we really appreciate this, because one of the things that we're very interested in is preservation of our township. And having somebody take the care you did to restore that barn is fantastic.
Excellent. Well,
Thank you.
Stop by anytime. We'll give you a tour. I'll give you a tour. Audie will be making pottery.
Thank you.